Welcome to another edition of our podcast, Rural Reflections, Calling Dave, co-hosted by my brother Dave in Carrington, North Dakota, and myself, Grant Nelson, here at Thief River Falls Studios. And before we get Dave on the line, let's do the ag headlines. New data from the Association of Equipment Manufacturers and Oxford Economics shows a positive trend in agriculture tractor and self-propelled combine sales for the next several weeks, despite a brief downtick for 2020. For 2019, the ag machinery industry grew a better than expected 3.2%. President Trump took to Twitter on Friday and said if our formally targeted farmers need additional aid until such a time as the trade deals kick in, that will be provided by the federal government. However, speaking at the USDA Ag Outlook Forum in Washington on Thursday, USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue said that a third market facilitation program payment was unlikely. Finally, District 1A Representative Dan Fabian also spoke with us this week and wanted to mention to farmers that even if they were not in a declared disaster county, they might be eligible for help.
The disaster declaration that was made known this past week, or actually last week, and there were two counties in District 1A that were part of the disaster declaration, and that was Kittson and Marshall. There are some requirements, in terms of damage that's done and so forth, particularly to public infrastructure. But I also told him that I had heard that if you live in a county that is immediately adjacent to a disaster declared county, your county then would also potentially qualify for some disaster assistance, low interest loans or something like that. So what I want the folks in Pennington County and Roseau County to know is that even though they weren't a part of the disaster declaration, those counties, but because we're immediately next to the other counties, you should go into your FSA office and see if there is some programs that might be able to help you out.
Okay, there's your ag headlines. Now it's time to get to the good stuff. Hello, Dave. How are you doing today?
Hi, Grant. Doing pretty good. It's really a nice day today, so enjoying that.
Now, you're official part of Thief River Falls Radio because you got the jacket. So how do you feel?
Oh, man. I've always wanted to be somebody, so I feel like I'm someone now.
It's like on American Graffiti where he got the car coat if he became part of the Pharaohs street gang. He got the car coat and everything. So now you've got the car coat.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about things that are going on in Carrington. You got a little combining going out there, huh?
Yeah, we're starting up on our second half of combining, I guess. They say we're across the state anywhere from 39 to 50% harvested, so I'd say we're in the 50% or more here. So they're really wanting to go this weekend because it's nice, and the threat of melting snow is not what they want right now because it's too much moisture and they're going to be getting stuck and that kind of thing. So yeah, we're giving her heck when combining.
Up here they said 8 to 30 inches of frost in the ground. I would think out there it's probably even a little bit shallower. Have you heard from anybody what the frost is like? Anybody been digging around or anything?
Well, it varies, but with snow depth. But in the corn rows, the snow is pretty, except for the edges of the field, is pretty much the same all the way across. And there's people, they're getting stuck. They're falling through the ice, or they're something's happening that they're getting stuck once in a while, and they're pulling wheels off and tracks off and, all that kind of good stuff. So
around
frost here either.
Okay. Well, around here I've seen one fellow was combining corn just south of St. Hilaire probably 3 weeks ago, but most of the snow now, of course, I can only see the outside rows, and those are the worst ones. The snow is up to the corn cobs around here, so I haven't seen too much of it getting done. How about open ground? I know South Dakota is pretty open right now. In Carrington, how far west do you have to go, do you think, before you can get open ground?
I'd say if you go about 40 miles, you'll find some ground that's, showing black now. But it's around here, there really isn't anything yet. But if we get a couple of those 40-degree days that they're talking about now, there may be a few spots show up out there. So.
Well, we have one spot, and I think that's just a matter of where the snow blew and then the sunshine just happened to come in. And we've got one little open spot at home, but that's about it. So I think we're a ways off before we see any black dirt, but it's going to happen. I can see the snow starting to decrease in size as the sun's out more and more often. So.
Yeah, it's settling down again a little bit more. that's nice for getting more hours of sunlight, and it's got a little bit of power in it now. So
For sure.
nice to see. I can't wait for spring.
I can't either. We like to always think about power tractors or the real muscle tractors, the drawbar bulls, and I think my favorites have always been the two-wheel drive drawbar bulls. And you've got one this week that I think pretty much qualifies for a power tractor or a muscle tractor.
Well, it was certainly a big tractor. It looked muscular, and when they had mechanical front wheel assist on them, they really looked muscular. And the one that always sticks in my mind is the 2155 that they had at the Marshall County Fair tractor pull. That one had great big flotation tires front and back, and it just looked like a monster. But they dyno tested 116 horsepower on the drawbar. So I think it's 140 engine horsepower and 116 drawbar. So it was a great big unit, kind of a weak heart, but
looked like Tarzan, but it played like Jane.
Yeah, it was I'd say I thought they were great tractors. I thought it was so cool that they had fuel tanks in the fenders and stuff like that. But it just was a big tractor, early 70s tractor, and it didn't do a whole lot except it had front wheel assist, which would, I'm sure, help them through a lot of tough spots,
I was taking a look at some of the stats for the Oliver 2155, and it's the same as the Minneapolis Moline G1350, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But dimensions, 12,000 pounds, and it had the Minneapolis Moline 9.6 liter 6-cylinder diesel, or the Minneapolis Moline 8.3 liter 6-cylinder LP gas engine. Hydrostatic steering, that's good. Would have been tough if you had to manually steer that one. And like you said, 116 at the drawbar, and PTO was 141. Now, this was the same thing as the Minneapolis Moline G1350, and it seemed there was a transition there. Minneapolis Moline was being absorbed by Oliver. Isn't that the way it went?
I believe so, yes.
So this would have been the early 70s.
Yeah, and then I believe White, eventually White got a hold of all of it. And at some point, that 2155, I think, became a 2255. And then they put a V8 cap in it. So I'm sure they added a little bit of horsepower to it that way, too. But, I just thought they were awesome-looking tractors. Even the Minneapolis Moline was more styled and, just a good-looking tractor, I always thought. But
I always liked the Olivers, especially like you say, the gas tanks and the fenders. I thought that just really appealed to me, and there was just something always sort of athletic-looking about them. I thought they were just a good-looking tractor.
Yeah, they were. Even their four-wheel drive, when they built that big Plainsman, and there was what was it called? I think there was a 2455 four-wheel drive, full-size four-wheel drive.
Yep.
And they were styled as nicer than anybody's, and they had big motor in them, and they were okay tractor too.
That sounds right. Well, that's the tractor of the week, the Oliver 2155. How are the new tractors selling, Dave? You been getting any people coming in looking to buy used or new? Actually,
we've sold a couple of used quad tracks this last week, which I'm sure is a tale of what's to come this spring. People want to be prepared with something else other than wheels. And actually, it's not great by any means, but it's steady, a little bit here, a little bit there. So we're not terribly worried or anything like that. It's a pretty steady stream of sales going on yet, but it's just not everybody coming in for it. It's just one here, one there, instead of everybody looking for one.
Okay. Any kind of different tillage equipment being purchased or anything, considering?
Well, there's going to be a lot of need for the vertical tillage, I'm sure, this spring. So we have people looking for that kind of thing because they feel they'll have to dry out fields and so on with that. They won't be able to get out there and just plant right away. So vertical tillage will be the thing.
Anything else for us this week, Dave?
I guess not. I'm enjoying the day. I hope everybody else can enjoy it too.
Yeah, it's beautiful up here. All right, well, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Bye, Grant.
Thanks, Dave. There he is, my brother Dave, on our Rural Reflections Call and Dave podcast here at Thief River Falls Radio.